common misconception is most of the times people tend to believe that design systems come first and then the product UI gets built on top of it. And more often than not, you find an initial proof of concept at least, or some product actually out in the market where the engineers have put together screens, and then the UX team gets hired only after this like a value in the market being found. So that's the more common case. And Aviatrix was no different, and we came in at a fairly mature stage of the product. And then at that stage, what was critical to building the system was understanding every pieces of process and people around it. I think that we actually spent a good amount of time before building the design system, understanding the lay of the land, the well-oiled machine that was operating, because you're introducing a system and the system works only if the processes and the people around that ecosystem buy into it. So it was more of a second a day two operation of an afterthought of bringing in a design system. So you're already working with set of UI components that they have picked, either might be disparate or it could have been the same. So you have kind of some broken Lego pieces before you built your component system. And I think one of the key challenges was working with a product of a certain degree of maturity, which is already in the market, and how do we transform the product with rough edges and smoothen the corner while the engine is running. So that was the challenging part. And I think just understanding and deep diving into the processes, like almost breaking down every page into saying, okay, these uses this, these need this kind of data displays, these need these controls. Oh, this feature needed the same control, but for some reason they went and found a different component to do it. So understanding the whys and then distilling it, like dissecting it before distilling it, helped us like arrive at this finite set, which now we call as flight suit, and which drives about
Mhm.
almost 95% of our product UIs.
Mhm. And what was your approach? Have you run two systems in parallel with like older UI and new UI with new components if you fixed any of them? Because I assume that there could be some inconsistencies and
Yeah,
you need to fix them. So
right.
there are different approaches how it can be done, like either parallel run or you build in parallel entire system with newer UI and just like at one point you just launch it and collect a lot of different feedback from users when they say that something is not as performs as they expected, something is broken. So what was
Yeah.
your journey here?
I smiled because it was you hit the problem that we were facing in the first few months. I think a lot of companies would not have the comfort of like investing completely in a design system, working that UI up until it's at parity and then launching it. You have to change along the way. You have to change the parts of the engine while the engine is running, which is interesting and challenging, and that makes it fascinating as a problem as well. So what we did is we understood where the lay of the land is. At first phase, we considered it just as a visual revamp. Like, okay, we
Mhm.
have two systems. How do we converge this quickly at a more style sheet level? Like, get the colors in order. If you had 64 hex codes being used, drop it down to 24. So you get some consistency around it. Then we look at fonts. Then we look at spacing tokens. So we got those individual pieces across the two systems aligned and a little bit more cohesive,
Mhm.
while all the new features that we were building were marked to be built only with the new design system. So, and at some points when enhancements came in for the old parts of the system, they got redone. So it's like fix the visual pieces first, then fix the interaction pieces. Then you get to a certain level of consistency while you're building the new pieces completely on the new system. And then you somewhere in the meantime you'll find that you're about 80%, and the rest of the 20% is okay. Just bite the bullet and do it and migrate it to the new system.
Yeah. Actually, like big products, they live with two different UIs living simultaneously. You often can
Yeah.
go to settings in Google and they just like look really outdated, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not.
Honestly, 5% of the system will always live that way because it's either not the business priority or you don't have users using it as much. So it's very hard to justify the return of investment of migrating it. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can see the life cycle of the product in those pages and how it's evolved. So it's the museum part of it.